Hello and welcome to the Athletic NBA Show. It's Wednesday. I'm Dave DeFore here with Mo DeKeel, Seth Partnow. So that means it's Nerder, she wrote. Man, how about that game last night, guys? What a finish to Lakers Suns. Listen, this was a Monday Nitro before the Royal Rumble. You know what I mean? Halloween Havoc.
You've lost me already.
You're going to lose me before we start the podcast.
This finish was so good. Controversy creates cash. And there was controversy at the end of Lakers Suns. And look, if you're listening to this show, I'm just going to assume that you've
Are
seen
you
it
saying
because
that Devin screwed Devin? Is that
Phoenix screwed Phoenix? No, this was unfortunately, the ref made a bad call, but an honest bad call. Like this was just it's a split second. There's bodies flying all over the place. You've got a guy yelling in your ear. But man, that timeout, we're going to be talking about this for a long time, I think. And the game itself was pretty good. But we're only going to talk about this timeout call.
Well, the one thing, just a word of advice for refs. When you're not sure, just don't blow the whistle.
Do nothing.
Just don't blow the whistle. But I think that what's a shame about this, because I think you're right, the timeout call is going to kind of be the thing everybody's going to talk about. Phoenix Suns are going to go irate. Man, AD missed 2 free throws at the end, and they had a chance to tie it. Like I mean, it's still right there.
They also went quack 2 with 11 seconds left.
I know,
Yeah,
but they still had it worked out for them. But but like there's a lot of stuff there to bite on. But more importantly, that was a playoff game.
It was.
That was another playoff game. Like that had the intensity of a playoff game. You know, the Lakers go up, the Suns have a massive third quarter. Like that was really like they really kind of 14-0 run and really kind of put it on the Lakers from there and made it a game the rest of the way. And it was back and forth the whole time. That was riveting basketball.
I think 2 of the 4 semis really delivered. And honestly, that's probably doing pretty well just in terms of
the Final Four in college.
If you compare it to think about playoff games. I mean, we get dud playoff games. And I'm not calling Bucks Knicks a dud, although it was a dud for the Knicks, and we'll talk about that. But the game itself was still entertaining. But Lakers, Suns, Pacers, Celtics, playoff feel, playoff atmosphere, playoff. It was fun to watch. But let's talk a little bit about the game. This is the Suns have some issues, and depth, I think, is exactly what we expected to be their biggest problem. It's proving to be their biggest problem. Are they going to be able to compete when we get to, when they're fighting for seeding? Are they going to be able to get into that top 4? Like, I think this team needs home court advantage. I just don't know that they've got the guys right now.
So there's 2 bits here. There's really 3 bits here if you think about it. One is their margin for error in doing that because they're so top heavy. The second is like, yes, it's important for them to get home court, but it's also like for them, as for every team, it's important to get to the playoffs with their guys whole. And I think the Lakers have this problem a little too. A crazy stat that I've been watching is, do you know who is leading the NBA in possessions played so far this year?
Got to be LeBron.
Anthony Davis.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. And like, with his history, that's something that like, pops your eyes out of your head. So it puts them at risk of like running their guys down before the playoffs. And then in the playoffs, which has become such a weak link game where if you have a guy who sticks out like a sore thumb, the better teams, that guy, we're going at that guy. We're going to figure out the best way to go at him. And they're probably always going to have one or more of those on the floor.
Well, I mean, it's what we talked about from the beginning. They have a playoff problem in Yusuf Nurkic. As great as he is for them offensively, and I think he's awesome for them offensively. He had a beautiful pass over the top to AD for a cutting layup and things like that. I think he's going to be involved in every pick and roll action. I have to go back and rewatch to count it up. But I can just offhand, I know of 2 pick and rolls that LeBron got downhill on them, drew a foul on a KD on one of them, and got one on Nurkic off of that. Like that's already one playoff problem they got to answer. To answer your original question, Dave, Yeah, I think they need home court advantage, but so do I think everybody in the playoffs is going to need home court advantage. I'm worried about just when are we going to see them fully healthy? I know there's talk Bradley Beal will be able to hopefully come back next week, but it's a back thing. You never know what happens with that. That can change super quick. KD kind of got banged up a little bit in this game against the Lakers. And I think you have to be concerned with those things. Like, are they going to have enough time together as a full healthy unit to really kind of build sort of a chemistry and start to have that cohesion going into the playoffs?
Well, and you mentioned Nurkic and how they're, he's going to be a target for opposing offenses. The Suns don't have a higher defensive gear, and Nurkic is a big part of that. When you look at down the stretch of this game, I mean, Anthony Davis guarded Devin Booker on the wing and stonewalled him as well as I've seen any big ever do to Devin Booker. The Lakers do have that ability to crank it up to 11 defensively. They've got some guys. I mean, even LeBron, right? I mean, and a lot of it's not just physical with LeBron. I mean, it's a lot of mental stuff with LeBron. Like, he just knows where to be, but they all are able to turn it up. Those late game possessions, they were more physical. The Suns couldn't match that physicality. And I think that's a big problem for them that they've had for a few years. And Nurkic was supposed to, I think, theoretically solve it, but he doesn't.
I mean, there was a possession you're talking about with LeBron defensively where he was all over the court, and I think they kind of highlighted it in a replay where he was on the ball, rotated over to the weak side, then slid over and got the steal and things like that. Like, that's the kind of stuff when you're talking about, like, can we amp it up? And at points in this game, when LeBron kind of took over at the end of the fourth quarter of this game, I just felt like, man, they have nobody that could stop him. Like, I was just thinking, like, Eric Gordon's a good defender. He can't stop LeBron. KD's a good defender. He can't stop LeBron. After that, I'm kind of just like, Devin Booker's too small. Grayson Allen ends up on him. He's getting bullied. He's blown by Nurkic. Like, that's the problem for them.
We're going to switch gears because I got to talk about LeBron at some point. We've gotten a quarter of the way through the season, and I don't think we've spent a lot of time on LeBron this year. I mean, and this is year 21 for him. So we kind of just expect this. This guy's 39 years old. How in the hell is he doing this? He played 40 minutes last night, hit 31 points. I mean, this is he was, I thought, the most impactful player in this game. He's been the most impactful player for the Lakers this season. This is incredible what he's doing. Are we like, I don't even know, like, is this sustainable for the Lakers? Like, do we need to just say, are you guys waiting for the other shoe to drop with him? Or is this just like, this guy looks great. He looks so healthy.
He's very invested in the in-season tournament.
He is.
So I'm wondering if we see this level kind of as we move into more normal play, if this is something we get night to night. And I kind of think there's going to be what we've come to see from like the casual excellence we've seen from kind of late career LeBron, where there might be stretches where he dials it up, but for the most part he's managing his way through a season. That's sort of what I expect to see once we get done with the tournament, because I think he would very much like to be the inaugural tournament MVP.
I mean, listen, Michael Jordan never did it.
Yeah, so fair.
And I love that, by the way. I love the investment. Go ahead, Mo. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, but that's it. Like, what Seth said is spot on. It's, and my question is, like, that's fine. I just want to see the toll it's going to have on him at the end of the season, and where he's at energy level wise. Like, look, they tried to start the season with the bullshit idea that he was going to play 25 minutes a game, and they were trying to arrest him. Like, they understood that. And obviously the in-season tournament, as Seth said, and it shows in the way he's played in these particular games, that he's fully invested in and wants to be the MVP of it and run through it. I'm curious at what cost, and I think that's going to be an interesting one. And we'll have to see in February, March, and April what he looks like, because, he's amazing now, and I'm not trying to take any of it away, but, like, can he keep this up? Because I don't know if he can.
Yeah. Let's quickly talk Bucks Knicks. the Bucks offense looks great. They are going to score a lot of points this season, Seth. I think, just safe to say. They had one of the most ridiculous shooting performances ever in this game. They were 23 of 38 from three.
And that's with missing a fair few in garbage time. I think they were like 18 of 27 at one point. It was I mean, we'll talk about this more. I think it was kind of a weird environment. And there's one period in the third quarter where it got pretty loud when they started banging a bunch of threes. And then they kept making a bunch of threes, and New York couldn't kind of keep up. And so the game got out of hand. But yeah, it's I know we're going to talk about this with respect to the Knicks, but this is sort of almost one of those games where, given the shooting disparity, what do you take from it? Like the Bucks were, 20 of some, not 20, like 20 of 31 at one point, and the Knicks were 4 of 19. And like, if that happens in today's NBA, that's, which team won that game, like 95% of the time.
Yeah, no, listen, when you give up, when it's plus 48 at the 3-point line, it's
a wrap.
It's done. Like it's just, and it was just incredible shot making. Like I honestly don't know how else to describe it. Like it was so incredible where it's like, I'm pretty sure I could have went 3 for 4 in that game with that. Like if I just wore a Bucks jersey, I probably would have knocked a few in. Like that's how incredible. Everybody was just legitimately on fire. And this is one of those games that you go, cool. You know what's coming in the next week? Somewhere in the next week is going to be a game where they can't make a single regression. It's going to be like a 4 for 30 night because of that. But it's in that sense. But there's a level. This was just absurd though. Like I don't even really. It took me out of the game. They shot the ball so well. It actually took me out of the game where I was like, all right, I'm good. They're going to make everything.
The shooting covered up for the Bucks defense, which still is just it's a mess in my opinion. But
the Knicks got I was at this game and so I wasn't like watching along with the play-by-play, but I think I counted 7 layups the Knicks got on fast breaks off of Bucks makes, and that's a problem. Now I think that some of that is some of that is the Knicks are the Knicks are sneakily like looking to leak out and do stuff like that. And a couple of them were, at least one was Julius Randle saying, "Hey, I got fouled," and not getting back on defense. And then, being one-on-one with Dame Lillard after the Bucks made a shot. But that is still of a piece with the disorganization of the Bucks defense that we've kind of seen all year. And the shooting, like, pretty comprehensively covered that up, but this game was like 72-70 at halftime. So they were shooting the ball well in the first half and up 2.
It was they were shooting it well in the first half. They had more. I felt like they had just had a better flow of offense in general. And you're right, there was no separation because of how poor their defense was. And again, that's what I'm watching with the Bucks. Offense will be fine. I felt like they leaned more offensively into the Dame Giannis pick and roll. I thought we got a lot more of those actions and a lot more of those two playing with each other. But that ain't my concern. It's the defense. And that's going to be the massive problem for them. That's the question of, if we're going to talk about them as legitimate contenders, what's their defense going to be like? Because as Seth's saying, you're giving up about 7 layups off of made baskets. I mean, that's awful. That's terrible stuff right there. And that's the thing you got to be concerned about going forward.
Yeah. Their
defense is it's almost it's reminiscent of sort of the late Jazz defense where it's Brook will figure it out. And in the third quarter, especially when the Bucks started to pull away in this game, he was tremendous. But that's it's how much are you asking? And you're turning guys loose downhill, and on another night maybe that leads to some offensive rebounds and stuff like that. And the other thing is they just foul so much compared to what they used to do.
Yeah, lack of discipline for sure. This game, I almost felt like, sure, the Bucks shot the lights out, and the takeaway from them is about their defense, but the Knicks, to me, in this game. I thought this is and Mo, correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is sort of a continuation of what we see when they play against high level competition.
Yeah, I mean, this is just one of those things. When you watch them, I feel like, look, we want New York to be good. It's fun for the league. New York Knicks fans want to tell us how good they are and everything and this and that. But every time they come up, these are measurement games for the Knicks. And anytime they go up against Boston, anytime they go up against Philly, anytime they go up against Milwaukee, this is a measurement game. And every time we see that, they tend to just not measure up. And I think that's the thing is you just feel like, wow, they're much further away than they should be. And again, granted, tonight, freakish shooting night from the Bucks, but they didn't do much in the second half that was impressive. You know, at the same time, like Randall was like had 25 points at 14 of 14 in the half. That was also freakish. Like there's a level of that for them too. And I think, you know, we can kind of trade those off. But I felt like in the second half, they just fall apart. It's their offense doesn't really it comes and goes when they run an actual offense and when they just freelance. And I feel like there's a lot of issues for them.
There was a lot of you know, there was the fast breaking and some bad fouls by the Bucks, but when the Knicks had to play against a half court defense, it was a lot of the same old Julius Randle back down, bang, bang, shoot a step back. And he made them all, which is great, but that's a hard road.
Yeah, and didn't get their role players involved hardly at all in the offense. I mean, Quentin Grimes took one shot in this game, and that's just not a recipe for success. Like you can't have a starter who's just not going to shoot. After the game, he talked about how, you know, he's worried about making mistakes. I don't know. I think the Knicks maybe need to shake things up a little bit. And this isn't just about one game. This is sort of the trend for the season for them. But I did think that the game last night was a good demonstration of kind of where this Knicks team is. They're pretty good, but they're not up there in that elite company. And the Bucks aren't, in my opinion, the Bucks aren't in that top tier right now because of their lack of defense. So like Mo just said, it was an opportunity for them to measure up, to make a statement, and they got blown out. So, that's my big takeaway from the Knicks. They're not quite good enough. Let's talk a little bit because the in-season tournament, obviously, we've got the continuation of the knockout stage. The semifinals are tomorrow. Got an early start, which is awesome. Thank you very much. I love a 2 p.m. Pacific start for a basketball game. That's fantastic for sports fans. The Pelicans and the Pacers are the other two teams. The games we're going to have Bucks, Pacers, Pelicans, Lakers. And that's going to be a Lakers home game for the Pelicans.
Yeah, for sure.
Although Brandon Ingram, I bet Brandon Ingram gets a good ovation from those Lakers crowd.
No.
So let's talk quickly about the Pels and the Pacers. The Pelicans kind of finding their footing. Zion has looked really good here lately. And I know that, you know, the broadcast kind of making fun of him for the, you know, not being in shape, just out there kind of playing on feel. But the guy is productive. There's not a lot of argument you can make there outside of the defensive end.
Just gets to the basket at a higher propensity than anybody in NBA history. I mean, you come back to that, like whatever he does, like maybe it's like, I don't want to shoot, so I'm just going to go to the basket. But his combination of size, speed, and really agility is just so unprecedented.
Yeah. And I just think he still needs to be a little bit lighter because he'll be even quicker.
Yes,
and he'll be even quicker on top of that with all those things. Listen, the honest truth is the Pelicans just need him to try 10% harder on defense. Not much. He's not going to be great. He's never going to be an unbelievable defender or anything like that. Just 10% harder. Don't get lost after the rotation. And I think those are the things that will take them forward with that. But this team, and this is the honest thing here, is this is a team I think that's poised to really kind of explode here.
Yes.
Now that they're fully healthy, they got Trey Murphy back. They have, you know, obviously Herb Jones, CJ McCollum back. And if they can be fully healthy, like this is a team that's poised to really explode and shoot up the standings. Like I can see them going on a 10-game win streak. Like this is the team I think that will probably win the in-season tournament, if you want my guess. Like young team, ready to roll. I know they got to go up against the juggernaut of LeBron, but I think they are going to go pretty hard. Like it's going to be interesting to see AD try to slow down Zion, who's going to be constantly looking to attack the rim over and over and over again. And, I think that's the challenge there for the Lakers. But I think with this Pelicans team, I mean, listen, they have so many guys and so much wing depth. Jordan Hawkins didn't play. Like, that's how good they are. And he's good. He can play. And it's like, that's how good they are in that sense. And I think that's the stuff we're watching for them. I think this is a team that will, even beyond the in-season tournament, I think we're going to see if they can stay healthy, really shoot up the standings.
One of the big advantages, in watching the Lakers against the Suns last night, the Lakers are actually big. I mean, AD plays big. LeBron can play big. And I think that the Pelicans are a team that matches up pretty well with that. Valanciunas and Zion, I mean, that's a load. Brandon Ingram with his length. I mean, this is going to be a really good matchup. The Pelicans' ability to score in a variety of ways. And this is where Brandon Ingram, we can split hairs about his choice on the shots that he takes, but his ability to score in the mid-range when they need a bucket is huge. You hit the nail right on the head, Mo. Getting Trey Murphy back, it really helps them. And he's not even back in the starting lineup yet. Once he slides into the starting lineup, I think we might see them take off and maybe run off, 8 or 9, 10 games in a row, because they're going to be able to score, shoot, and defend at every single position aside from point guard, where they're not getting defense.
Oh, I thought you were going to say aside from Zion.
Well, Zion. Listen,
Trey Murphy is Mo and I's next argument. Next Mikal Bridges argument.
He's Mikal Bridges 2.0.
Yeah. That's not an argument.
Yeah,
it's true. It's just again, the idea that Mikal Bridges. See, now you've gone completely off track. The idea that Mikal Bridges could be the guy on a team, which everybody was going nuts about when he was doing it on a terrible Brooklyn team last year, was sort of full of shit.
I wasn't surprised.
That he went off, or that
he went off. That he went off. Yeah,
he had a nice run, but everybody was ready to scream of him as like, oh, he should be the number one guy. Max him. The Suns were so damn stupid trading him. Blah blah blah. All these things. I was like, yo, it's Jeremy Grant all over again.
No, it's not that. Okay. No, it's not that.
Let's get back to the in-season tournament before we start a brawl. All
right, let's.
I stand by it. Let's brawl. You guys like wrestling? Let's go. I'm coming off the top rope.
There you go. Pacers, man. Listen, this team plays absolutely no defense, and it sometimes hurts my soul to watch them. Tyrese Halliburton, for as good as he is on the offensive end, and this guy has been absurd the entire season, his defense is atrocious. The Bucks and Pacers, we're going to watch two turnstiles at the top of the defense for both teams. We might get a 160 to 155 game with Pacers and Bucks, because the defense is that bad. The Pacers, to their credit, never relent on the offensive end. They go hard, they go fast, they run on every single make. Tyrese Halliburton stays in every single play. Stays in every play on the offensive end. But his defense is so bad. Are they going to be able to do, and not just in in-season tournament, because I think the Bucks are a better basketball team, and I expect the Bucks to win. But this is a playoff team. The Pacers are going to, I think they're going to be able to sustain a high enough level of offense that they can make the playoffs. Are they just going to get swept out of the playoffs, though, because their defense is too bad?
I don't know if they'd get swept out, because I feel like they could have a game that's, wildly offensive in a way. Like, I don't know if they could win a series, but I don't know if they'd get swept. I could see them winning a game.
They put so much pressure on you with their our friend Matt Moore has started to describe Halliburton as sort of evolutionary Steve Nash. And I think that's because they play fast, but it's not just that they're fast, it's that they're always going. like always, it's not sprint everywhere, but start running. And it's everybody on their team, and it's Buddy Hield is sprinting to his spots in the 3-point line, and they have a plethora of wings and between Matherin and Neesmith and Nembhard, and Neesmith's a player I've always kind of liked, and he's really become a nice kind of a solid physical wing for them, and so they just put so much pressure on you constantly that like if you're not ready to match that on a given night, like fine, they're not going to be able to guard you, but they're running the ball back down your throat every time, and they could wear some teams out that way. Maybe not 4 times in 7, but more than once or more.
Do you guys give them a chance to win this single elimination game against the Bucks? I mean, a single elimination, so anything could happen. But
for
you don't think the Bucks are going to be able to just? And again, the defense is so bad, but they're just this much better.
Why do you think they could crank up the defense? Like that's like you think they can really kind of? I mean, they have Brook Lopez and Giannis, and then after that, like I'm not really looking at their defense going like, ooh, And I think that's the thing there. I mean, the Pacers get hot and they get going. This is what the tournament's about, right? Like this is the fun stuff you get with that single elimination stuff. Is this is it? Let's go. And I think Halliburton has a game that they look at their wins. They beat Philly, they beat Boston. Like they have nice wins on their resume. Like when you're just looking at that stuff, it's like, they can beat anybody on any given night. There's no reason why we got to think like the Bucks will be favored as they probably should be.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't look at it going like, oh, the Bucks are going to win this easy. Like this is going to be a track meet, and it's just going to come down to this is going to be a make or miss game.
And I think we have to, first of all, like if it comes down to like sort of in-game strategizing, it's been a rough start to the year for Adrian Griffin, and Rick Carlisle is one of the better coaches in the league, so that's an advantage. I also think that going psychoanalysis a little bit, I think this probably means a little more to Indy than it does to Milwaukee. Like the Pacers know they're not winning the title this year,
right?
But they can win something here,
right?
And I think that it's not saying the Bucks wouldn't like to win, but I think it probably is like in some ways this is the Pacers season.
I'm gonna push a little bit, but you're right. But also, I would say this is also the training ground for the playoffs for them. This is hey. Listen, that game they played against Boston, that was a type of atmosphere you will feel in the first round of a playoff game at home. Granted, this is going to be a neutral site, going to kind of be a little bit of a weird crowd. I don't know how much.
Oh, but it's going to be a very pro Pacers crowd, I think.
Because they're going to be excited for it. But they're fun.
Well, I think the Lakers want to play the Pacers rather than the Bucks, wouldn't you think?
Probably.
Yeah, because they want to. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But by the way, with the Lakers defense and inability to shoot, I would be careful what you wish for. But I think the thing for them is this is training ground for the playoffs. Like, hey guys, don't just look at this as, hey, this is our only chance to win something this season. This is our chance to get playoff experience in December that might help us in April. And I think that matters. And I think that's an important thing. That's an important way this team should go about it. Whether they do is a different story, but that's something they should kind of focus on a little bit.
Be interesting because the atmosphere will be that, but the prep won't be.
Right.
Because it's only 2 days. And I don't think there's been binders being made for
I hope
finals.
I hope that
as a video coordinator, I would revolt. No, I would form a union and we'd fight. Like, let's go.
So is this can I bring up my sort of
I want to talk about the Celtics just a little bit because I look, they're coming into the season, we have I think we've talked a lot about the Celtics. Obviously, they got Drew Holiday, they got Kristaps Porzingis. They're the favorites in the East. They've been the best team in the East, I think. That was a rough game for them, Mo.
I mean, the way I kind of look at it is this is the same offense we've seen from them the past few years, and it
falls apart at the end.
It's really good when they're making their shots, right? But it's one action into an isolation. Like that's just not. It's like I've seen them do more in the post. I've seen them try make more of an emphasis on that stuff. But really, at the end of games, we see them over and over again. One action, whoever has the ball in their hands at the end of that action, that's where the ball is going to stay, and that's where we're going to get a shot, and we're going to live and die by that, which, because they have such talented guys, will win them a lot of games. But that's the thing that worries me about them come playoff time. Like, I just want to see something with the variation with their offense, throughout the entire game, and it just not always end up in isolation. And I think that's a problem for them that they need to find a way to get out of.
I owe Brad Stevens an apology, I think, because, I used to blame his offense for their late game struggles and the fact that it would just fall apart. I mean, but the truth is those guys, they get into their bag a little bit, and it's,
Dave, now it's
hard
time
to do that.
double down, keep blaming him. That's what you do.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately, I'm not built that way.
The other thing this illustrates is how vital Kristaps Porzingis is for them, because if they're going to run one action into something, the Tatum Porzingis pick and pop, pick and roll is a pretty good sort of bell to ring over and over again, because that's kind of an unguardable action. So at least that gives them a chance to create advantages in a way that it's not going to be one action, back the ball out, hero ball it up.
And they were missing. I think they missed Kristaps' defense also. He's a fantastic rim protector, and then some of the stuff that they were doing with him defensively, just out on the perimeter, even. I mean, he's like trapping it almost half court sometimes. I think that they missed that, being able to apply that pressure. In this game in particular,
and they missed that, and they missed that, and then they also, Horford is obviously a capable deputy in that regard, but then who backs up Horford if Porzingis is out? It's Luke Cornett, and he had some moments in the first half of that game, but like especially against a team that's going to get up.
I don't know how he
like
caught that lob, by the way. That was a lob like you throw for Victor Wembanyama.
He was
Cornett.
He had some positive moments in the first half and moments in the second half where I was like,
guys, as we wrap up, I want to just kind of talk about the in-season tournament in general. Number one, it's a success. It is objectively fun. It is more fun when everyone buys in, and I mean players bought in, the coaches bought in, the fans followed right along. LeBron at the end after the game last night, I thought LeBron, I'm sure the clip's on social media, but he discussed wanting to fight. Like, hey, you know what? We're playing for something here. Like, it matters. We're going hard. And it is such a nice departure from what we normally get on a Monday or Tuesday night, the first week of December. So, I know we're going to get Seth. I know you got an idea, man. I would do a second tournament. It's been so good. I would do one in January. I mean, just it's so nice to have these games matter. So
I think that maybe it's just the game that I happen to go to. I mean, it's a game that pops up on the schedule on a random Tuesday night in December in Milwaukee. The atmosphere was actually pretty. I was frankly pretty disappointed with it. There was a fair amount of empty seats, and I don't actually blame people, because again, even people's season tickets, the game, like I got to go to the game because a friend of mine was like, "Oh, hey, this just popped up in my ticket package." And it's a tough balance the NBA is having to thread here as this thing gets going with maintaining momentum for it. But I think that as we move to the non-scheduled portion, the sort of the danger of keeping that atmosphere alive, because how many people had a holiday party last night because of when it is in the season. How many people are going to be able to travel from Indiana or Milwaukee to Vegas on that notice and by the way, if you're trying to build excitement for it, the ticket prices they were asking for in Vegas are like ludicrous. The friend I went with, they wanted $20,000 for 3 games for 2 seats.
No.
And like, if you're trying to make, that's something you do after the thing is established. Now you look on the secondary market and it's like, it's $20 for the.
We've learned
the
nothing from
game.
Formula F1.
Yeah, where it filled up and it was great, but they charged so much that like people were able to show, I got a ticket for $100 when they were charging, 10 times. They wanted 10 times that. So something to look at is maybe spacing this out. And this is something that the in-season tournaments in like in Europe do is that like, okay, they do the part of it, and then there's some time so you can get to the semi, you can get to the final, you can make a trip out of it. And where that fits in with the schedule. My idea has been, I was thinking about this as I was leaving the game last night, is nobody really wants to play in the rookie game or the All-Star game. All-Star Saturday night is still good. Why don't we have the semi on the Friday and replace the All-Star game on the Sunday? Now, I've been told that this is something that was considered, and for kind of, I think, reasons of sort of, that's a big bit of the media calendar was not taken up. But I think that might give a way to give it some juice, especially because you think that like, if the All-Star weekend still is the same kind of gala it is, then all the other players are there watching the finals of this game. And so I think that would be, I don't know if it's doable, but it's just an idea to bring up, because that was the place I was thinking that made, if you're going to separate a little bit, that might be the place where it makes the most sense.
I like the
but I do
spirit of
think,
it.
But I do think that if this thing gets established, wanting to, all right, we're playing up to the knockout stages, first bit of the season, and then we come back to it in, I don't know, in January or something like that, so we can actually get whatever the neutral site is, actually make that kind of that Final Four, that NCAA regional atmosphere, where you get the partisanship of the crowd, which is a big part of what makes it both fun to be at and also as a sort of a TV and excitement thing.
Yeah, so I hate it. Sorry, love you, but still. The one, I like that this is wrapping up. And let's get to the season. I also, Seth, just so you don't feel alone, I also hate Dave's idea of we should have another tournament in January.
Well, that's
you know, so just you know, so you don't feel alone. Hate all of it. No, but I think you lose a lot of the momentum. And I think that's part of it. Like, I understand how much spacing and timing wise and fans and whatnot. Let's just be honest. It's not about the fans that are going to actually go to the tournament game. Are they going to watch it? Right. That's the most important thing for them. Right. And I think that's yes, they would love to have a sellout crowd, the gate receipts and all of that stuff.
I think it also makes it a better TV product if there's some atmosphere in the building.
Right.
But I don't think the atmosphere of the building happens because the guy's on the court. Like you
player buy-in. Yeah.
Right. Like it's that simple. Like you were texting us about the atmosphere of Bucks Knicks, and I said simply,
how about Pacers? End of the Pacers game, the guys on the bench standing up like they're all in.
They were in, but I just think, like, if Bucks Knicks was close going into the fourth quarter, you'd have felt that atmosphere build. It's a thing, because it's the action on the court. Like, the crowd's not there. It's not quite, all that stuff. And it's going to be a weird crowd for these guys kind of playing in a neutral site. But I just think if we let this kind of carry on, first off, teams lose their momentum in that sense, do the stuff and then tournament in February, or the Final Four in February, kind of loses it, and you tend to forget about it.
Plus
trade deadlines and things like that. Everything kind of changes. I think you just need to kind of keep it the way it is. We talked tweaks last week. The one other tweak I might kind of consider is maybe go a little bit longer if you want, and have this end maybe just before Christmas, or maybe have it be the Christmas Day game.
No,
I know the networks don't want that, because they want all the 5 games and that stuff. But, like, I wouldn't mind if it went another week longer, or whatnot. Like, I kind of think that's fine if we had another if we had a little more group play, and then
maybe don't do Christmas, and maybe you do New Year's Day, and it's a new thing. Instead, you've already got Christmas Day. It's a big day on the NBA calendar. Maybe you find a different day. But
the IST Bowl.
No, yeah, but that's also the problem, right? Now you're heading up against bowl season, and this is the other thing. Let's just be honest: we're avoiding football, And that's going to be a thing where it's wrapping up when it is.
I will say that the crowds in Indiana and Sacramento Monday night, that felt like playoff basketball watching. I mean, sitting at home watching, that felt like a playoff atmosphere. And again, I just, anything you can do to get the fans to buy in, the players to buy in, it's going to make it all more fun. I mean, it's all like, when it really comes down to it, it's all fake anyway, right? None of it matters in the scale of the universe. So anything
it matters because it matters at a certain point.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool that they managed to pull that off. So all of my skepticism when I first read about it in the new CBA deal, it's gone. So
I gotta
the one miss was the courts. That's it.
I was just about to say that the one other thing is actually now the Bucks had one of the better courts on TV.
Yeah.
In person, it actually it was much less jarring than it is on TV. And then, again, the Bucks had one of the more basketball-like courts. And I also think that they figured out over the course of the tournament games how to, I don't know if it's the settings on the camera or how to light the arena, but the difference between how it looked in Indiana the first game that they had there and then how it looked on TV on Monday night was night and day. So I think they figured just get rid of the red.
That's
it.
And
that's
my only
just
real
don't do no. Just don't do those courts next year. I'm good with that. Like, put the sticker in the middle. Put maybe paint the lane. But come on, man. Just give me a basketball court.
They did. It was just red. It was weird.
Yeah.
It was an awkward. It was. You just felt like Kramer living next to the chicken place. You know, it's just like it's that. I actually by the end didn't mind the courts. Once I got used to it, I was fine. Yeah, it's the red courts. I had a very hard time watching games that had the full red courts. That's all I got. I felt like my retinas were burned.
All right. We're beating a dead horse on the courts. But anyway, overwhelming success. Been a lot of fun. That's going to do it for this week, folks. Enjoy. We got a lot of in-season tournament stuff coming. Andrew Schlecht is going to be out at the in-season tournament. So he's going to do some live pods post-game. So make sure you guys stay tuned in for that. Go and leave us a review on iTunes. I actually don't know if this is important or not, but maybe it is.
Hold on. First off, terrible job pitching how to give how to do the review. First off, folks,
comment, and subscribe.
Review. No, listen, I want an honest review.
I don't want honesty. No, my fragile ego can't handle that. Give us 5 stars. If you're not giving us 5 stars, leave.
Keep it to yourself. That's what they say. That's what Marcus and DA say. So keep it to yourself. And we're doing fun stuff on YouTube. So go and check that out over at YouTube. And it's just Athletic NBA Show on YouTube. For Seth and Mo, I'm Dave, and this has been Nerder, She Wrote, on the Athletic NBA Show.